Hello everybody, this is Toys R Us, and for this unboxing video on a Monday, that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. But I want to do a couple of things first. First and foremost, for those who are new to the channel, what I like to do with this is turn it into a bit of a guessing game so you can guess the character or indeed the figure. But before we do that, there's a couple of things that I need to do. The first and foremost is to thank a chap called Neil Rockman. People in the Transformers community may know him. He is an admin on the G1 selling Facebook group, but besides that, he's just an incredibly nice chap, and someone I can now call a friend, even though we've never actually met in person. He's the guy in America where he'll get me figures, or he'll buy me some figures and then he'll import them to me. We'll build up a big collection, then vice versa, and I'll send some stuff to him and he'll send some stuff to me. But he's outdone himself here with this, because and this is why I want to tell people, because this is just such a nice community, etc. This came about 2 Christmases ago. It's not the one that's just gone, the one before. We were having a chat with regarding figures that I needed to complete the collection, and there was only like a couple. And when I mean complete the collection, I mean the entire Japanese run of figures, because I'd already just done the Hasbro ones. And he very kindly, with a couple of other figures, which again I've not showcased or shown on this channel yet at all, so there's some more unboxings to come very soon. He offered to sell me his, and I was a bit taken back, because it's like he didn't have duplicates of him. He's got duplicates of lots of other figures, a bit like myself, but he didn't have duplicates of this particular one. And he's like, well, I want to help you complete yours, and that's pretty much what he did. So it took me ages to get it paid for, to be honest, but that's besides the point. The point is that it's just he agreed to sell me this with a few other figures from his actual collection, and I just think that's just a brilliant advert for this community, for how we all sort of work together and help each other. And again, a prime example of that was yesterday at the toy fair, that, you know, I was selling some figures, people coming buying stuff off me that I've moved on from my collection, and, you know, to help theirs. And I know that's just sort of buying and selling, but I think with this community it's a little bit more personal, because a lot of the people who tend to buy some figures from me, you know, I actually do know them now via the channel membership, via the Discord. People, you know, actually generally get to know them, so it's nice to see where my stuff's going, and vice versa. And maybe that's perhaps why he did it. But huge thank you to him for this figure that I've got in my hands right now. Okay, so onto the bit of a guessing game. So it's really hard to make this hard. Unless you don't know anything about Japanese Transformers, you're going to get it straight away. So I'm going to try and perhaps just give you maybe a few facts, or if you know who the character is or the figure, maybe you don't know these facts about him. So it's a 1988 Japanese exclusive figure. Now, when I say exclusive, that means that it was only released obviously in Japan, but also the fact that it was only this particular versions. What I mean by that is Minerva was obviously the Nightbeat mold, Ranger was the Joyride mold, and, you know, they did a few others where they, like, even, no, that was a different one. I was going to say Lyocasa, but that's the year later, but no. The Dread, that's it. Buster and Hydra was, of course, Dreadwind and Darkwing, whereas this was only released in Japan, and it didn't have a US equivalent. So that's the best way of putting it. Not only that, this is the only version of this figure and of this character. So since this figure was made in 1988, come back to that in a minute, since this figure was a Transformer in 1988, no other versions of this figure or character have ever been made. So it's a complete standalone figure. So even though we've had Trillium 30, Legacy, all the other generations, War for Cybertron, not one other figure has been made of this particular character. Now, when I said come back to something in a minute, however, it was a pre-Transformer, so this is a second use of the mold, but to be a Transformer. So it was a micro change figure beforehand, with a slightly different sort of colour scheme. The reason why it's, you see, you're probably guessing already, but the reason why it's not had an update or a reissue, etc., is because of the alternate mode. And for this particular character, although he's a really big character in the Super God Master Force cartoon, he's a very big character. That was the only time he was big. So again, most people, I didn't know about him at all until I got that book and I learned about Japanese figures. So, and it's not as if, and here comes another big clue straight away, it's not as if obviously like Megatron, who's the main character, really main character, so they adapted his alternate mode to be a tank or to be, you know, a jet in the movies or whatever. But with this guy, he's only ever been exactly what he is. And I just can't believe that I've got this guy now after so long of wanting him and waiting for him. It's browning and it's absolutely beautiful. So yeah, so this was released as a micro change figure. As I say, no other versions or character of this has been made, not even on the timelines, anything like that. It was a pre-transformer, as I say, pretty much micro change, because it's a bit like Megatron. It's near enough a 1-for-1 scale, but not only is this browning, this is an absolutely stunning version of him. I don't even think I think it's completely unused. I've got the sticker sheet in there. I'd like to say obviously it's never been transformed, but it's been transformed once, and that is because of its alternate mode. So Neil very kindly transformed him, put him in a separate box and posted it to me, so it made its way through customs and stuff. So yeah, this is, as I say, he's a little character in the Super God Master Force cartoon. And I'm going to definitely transform him and do a video on him for you guys, just to show you who he is. So yeah, crazy fact. Only ever released in Japan in 1988. No other versions of him. And unfortunately, we're probably never going to see him again because he's a gun. And there we go. So if you guessed it, or if you knew it was, in the comments put got it. Don't put the character or what it is, just for the other people who like to play along as well. But there you go, guys. Very excited to have him in hand and ready to do some reviews on him. In the meantime, have a great day. Take care.